Hello, I'm John Kim. I'm with US Kids Golf, and I want to welcome all of you to our first ever episode of the US Kids Golf Mission Podcast. Now, why are we doing a podcast? We're doing this because you deserve all the best information and stories to help make your family's journey through golf the most enjoyable and rewarding it can possibly be. Now, this episode, we're going to talk equipment. Now, we're not just starting with equipment because we sell clubs, but the origin of the entire organization is based on bad equipment keeping kids out of the game. Golf is hard. Let's make it a little easier by making sure kids can make proper swings and enjoy the rewards of a well-struck shot. So I'm bringing in our Senior Director of Product Development, Josh Kinchen, to talk about what information you need to get your kids ready to enjoy a game for a lifetime. So I want to welcome my friend and colleague, Josh Kinchen. Josh is our Senior Director of Product Development here at US Kids Golf, and he's the equipment guru. He is the guy that's responsible for creating the equipment that helps your kids play better, enjoy the game more. So Josh, welcome. Thanks for joining us on our very first episode of the Mission Podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be your first guest.
Yeah, I didn't really have a choice. Nah, I'm kidding. We'll do that way. Josh, for parents out there that play golf, that are golfers, but they're new parents, why buy kids golf clubs?
Kids golf clubs have been specifically engineered. Since US Kids Golf came into the game 30 years ago, back in 1996, we have completely re-engineered, redesigned, changed the way that golf clubs are made for kids. So if you're getting your kids started in golf, they should start with a US Kids Golf product. At least we feel that wholeheartedly because we do it completely different than anybody else. Don't play cutoffs. Don't take your dad's clubs and cut them down. They're way too heavy. They're way too stiff. Go out, find a proper set of clubs that your kid's going to be able to play with, enjoy the game, see some success early.
We are getting ready at the timing of this filming. We're getting ready to go to the PGA show. Every year we do that. It's always this big bonanza of equipment companies showing off the latest and greatest. Josh, is technology really that different in clubs now than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago?
Yes, for sure. Improvements are being made continuously. The big thing these days is trying to get as much amount of ball speed as you can off the center of the face. So everybody's up against the USGA and RNA CT limits in the center of the face, but now people are trying to hit those same limits out on the perimeter. So that's a big thing in golf, and just trying to create that additional generation of spin around the green with your irons, with your wedges, due to the new groove rules. So yes, improvements are being made constantly and consistently. And we're doing the same with kids clubs.
The number one question that I get asked, and I'm sure you do, and probably everybody at the US Kids Golf, within the US Kids Golf organization is, I want to get my kids some golf clubs. What do I do? Let's just go through the steps. And it doesn't have to be necessarily brand or line specific, but you want to buy your kids golf clubs, what do you do?
Well, step one would be to go get them fit. That would be what we would encourage. And if you don't want to go get fit, or maybe your kid has never played the game of golf before in their life, you're not necessarily going to go get fit, right? They can't even make consistent contact yet. So we would put them in a product such as our yard club that's lightweight, flexible, super easy to hit, creates that confidence early. But yeah, that would be my first recommendation. Go out, talk to a professional, talk to somebody that knows the game, and see what the recommendation is.
We offer different lines of clubs. Why?
Because we know there are so many different types of golfers or abilities of golfers. There's beginners, right? Never played the game before. There's a kid that maybe has played a little bit of golf and he's ready for his first new set of clubs. There's advanced golfers that have been playing for a while and need, that more elevated, more performance-driven set. And then there's elite junior golfers as well that are playing at the highest levels of junior golf. So being that there are all kinds of abilities of different players, we make all kinds of different lines for different players to fit into those particular player abilities.
Tell us about that fitting again. What are the different elements of fitting? It seems like a pretty kind of, general term.
Yeah, so the US Kids fitting process is very simple. It's a 3-step process. Step 1 is to determine your player's height with shoes. So you want to make sure they have shoes on. You want to measure their height in inches. We use a proprietary method here that we call the fit stick. It's really just a stick that has height ranges on it, and you stand your child up next to it, you determine what height level they are, and that determines what size system you would go into the US Kids line. If you don't have a fit stick, you can just use a tape measure. Basically, you just want to get your child's height in inches, and that will determine which of our size sets they should fit in. Step 2 is to determine the player's hand. Are they right or left-handed? That's usually pretty easy to figure out, but sometimes the little kids, the 2-3-year-olds, maybe they haven't really made a determination yet. So what we usually recommend is just give the child a ball, see which hand they throw it with, and that's usually the hand they're probably going to be dominant with and that they're going to tend to lean to. And then step 3 is determine their ability. This is the most difficult part, but if you have a launch monitor, you could toss the kid onto that, have them hit all of our different lines, see which one fits them the best. If you don't have access to a launch monitor, we fit the old-fashioned way. Basically, just go out to the range, give the kid the different types of clubs, let them hit the different types of clubs. You should be able to see relatively easy, are they able to get the ball up in the air easily? Which one of them is going further? Which one of them looks like a nice trajectory for a golf shot? So you kind of just use your eyes and determine what their ability is based on the shots they're hitting.
Is that a lot to do with swing speed, or is it more complex than just simply how fast do you swing your driver?
So we do have a swing speed recommendation. We recommend that you stay in ultralight below 50 miles per hour. Once you get above 50 miles per hour, you start possibly looking at tour series depending on your player's height. So at 48 inches, we would say 50 miles an hour. At 51, we would say 55, et cetera, et cetera. But we want you to hit some swing speed thresholds to cross over them, if you will, before you really move into our more performance-driven line. But that being said, swing speed isn't always the direct indicator of if your child should move on or not. Sometimes
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I think in the past, I've always just said if you swing it faster than X than your tour series, but that's not the case. So my bad, whoever I've recommended clubs to. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes the kid may have the swing speed that's needed, but they spin it way too much. And our ultralight line, for instance, is going to spin the most because it's made for the slowest swing speeds. And typically, for swing speeds under 75 miles an hour, launch angle is the number one determining factor for distance. So we would want them in the ultralight product because it's going to launch it higher. But if they're a super high spin player, even if their swing speed is slow, we may end up putting them in tour series because the tour series line is going to help bring that spin down. So there's a number of factors that are contributing here. Swing speed's probably one of the most important, but it's not the number one determining factor.
One of the things that we had talked about in setting up this podcast is that we didn't necessarily want this to be too advertorial. We want to provide information that helps you regardless of what you play, when you play, where you play. We're trying to get you and your kids and your family out in the game. Obviously, we're going to talk about U.S. Kids Golf philosophy, which bleeds into our products and our offerings because we believe in it that much. One of the things that I know that we've talked about, you and I, something that I never really thought about before was this idea of swing weight, right, in a golf club. Why does that matter? Why do I care what the swing weight of a club is, or why should my kid care? I mean, that's pretty complex thinking.
Yeah, so all of our sets here at US Kids Golf are swing weight matched. So what that means is, for instance, if you take an adult set of clubs from one of the adult brands, the driver is probably going to be a D2, D3. The fairways and hybrids are probably going to be a D1, D2. The irons are going to be a D3, D4, and then the wedges are going to be a D5, D6. So we take that same philosophy where the driver is the lightest swing weight in the club and the wedge is the heaviest swing weight in the club, and we take that and expand that across our entire line. So ultralight, for instance, it may not be a D2 in the driver, but let's say it's a B2, right? And then our fairways and hybrids are going to be a B1, and then the irons are going to be a B3, and then the wedge is B4. So it's really, you're trying to get kids into the normal swing weight, a transition, if you will, that they're going to feel when they become an adult. So the driver's the lightest, the irons get heavier, the wedges are the heaviest. So we take that across all of our lines here at US Kids.
So put in a way that I understand it a little bit more, the idea is that the swing weight needs to be consistent within the set, yes. Right? So that's very important, that the swing weight on your 7-iron is not wildly different than, say, on your 9-iron. And then one of the reasons that our kind of secret sauce works is that not only is the swing weight consistent throughout the set, but then when you graduate to the next set within the U.S. Kids Golf system, you should have the same type of swing feel.
Yes, it would be a similar swing feel. So we're a developmental fitting company. We're all about developing kids into the game of golf, right? Trying to get them into a place where their swing mechanics are great, their swing speed is great, they're developing hand speed, they're developing their game, they're developing their golf game. And that's all based really through this swing weighting system that we use. Now, you said consistent, but it's not really consistent. For instance, the driver doesn't swing weight the same as the irons, but it shouldn't.
It's the relationship that's consistent.
The relationship to adult clubs.
I'm sorry. That's
consistent.
what I meant to say. Right.
Yeah. So the idea is that when the kid grows up and they transition from ultralight to Tour Series, it's going to have that similar feel. And then when they transition from Tour Series to EP Tour, again, similar feel. And then finally, once they're ready to graduate out of EP Tour and into adult clubs, again, it'll have that similar feel. The kid will already be prepared. They'll know what they're feeling and how to transition easily.
Our philosophy for clubs is you grow out of clubs, not into clubs.
Correct.
What does that mean?
The gist there is really that we want you to always swing a club that is lighter, because lighter is faster. Faster is going to develop your hand speed more. Developing your hand speed more is going to eventually increase your swing speed long term. So long-term development is what we're all about here. And by playing clubs that are lighter, you're going to be able to, again, swing them faster, and that's going to develop your hand speed and make you a better golfer in the future. That's why we encourage kids to grow out of our clubs and not into, because if a kid is 54 inches and you jump them up into the 57-inch set, well, now you've got a heavier club that's longer. It's going to be more difficult for them to swing. Whereas if they would have just stayed back in the 54, their swing speed would increase, their hand speed would increase, they would develop better, in our opinion.
Okay, that makes sense. So one of the things that we don't do here, this is very important, we don't really talk about other companies, other club manufacturers, other organizations, other than to say thank you. Because anybody that helps bring more kids into the game is just a big win for everyone, including the industry itself, of course. But with that said, it drives me nuts sometimes because I see advertisements or I see social posts or something from just people, and it seems like they're making a mistake. And it's all that I can do to be like, no, don't do that. So let's just talk about some of the mistakes that parents need to avoid when they're trying to go out and buy clubs for their kids.
Yeah, well, mistake number one to avoid is don't take your dad or your grandpa's set and cut it down, because the shafts are going to be way too stiff. The club heads are going to be way too heavy. The kid's not going to be able to get the ball in the air. You're not going to create any confidence. He's not going to have fun, or she's not going to have fun, and they're going to quit the game early and quickly. So some of our competitors, most of our competitors, honestly, they take one head, they take one shaft, they take one grip, and they just cut it to length. So it doesn't matter if you're 5 years old or 15 years old, you're getting the same head, the same grip, the same shaft. It's just been cut to size, which is really slightly better than taking your dad's old clubs and cutting them down, but still not ideal. It's lighter weight, but still the shaft's becoming too stiff. The head is probably still too heavy. The grip is probably still too big for the younger kids. Whereas at U.S. Kids, we do things completely differently. We have over 500 individual clubs. We have 100 different shafts. We have 75 different grips. Everything is specifically made for that player and that player type.
All right, so wait, I've got to interject here. This is just something that I learned very recently. I should have known this, but I've only worked here 11 years. You'd think I'd get to it eventually. I didn't realize we had that many different components to put together our sets.
Yes.
So the head of a 57-inch ultralight 7-iron is significantly, markedly different. It's unique than the 51-inch ultralight.
Correct, yeah. So within the ultralight line, for instance, we have 5 different head weight categories. Now, that's not just 5 separate heads, but 5 head weight categories, anywhere from 30% lighter to 10% lighter. Those are completely different heads. For instance, when you move into Tour Series, now we have 3 separate head weight categories. So yeah, it dynamically changes. Again, nobody is making golf clubs the way that we do out there, parents. We have specific head weights, specific shafts, specific grips that are specifically engineered for that particular player type and that particular player size.
So, I said earlier, we're not trying to cut a commercial.
Right.
We're just simply saying, here is what goes into the thought process of what best fits your kids for golf clubs. And we said one of the things that you just mentioned, obviously, was don't cut down clubs. So that's very important. Here's another thing that I've talked to people about. You can't just automatically pass down clubs, like from brother to brother, sister to sister, especially when they get a certain age, because, as you said earlier, their height might be the same, but their talent level might not be.
Correct. Yes,
so
that is 100% true.
Just because you're at 12 years old playing Tour Series doesn't mean that when you graduate, the younger brother may not be ready for Tour Series at that kind of comparable age.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah. It's all player dependent. It's all size dependent. Each individual is unique, and our clubs fit that unique individual. But yeah, little Tommy's sister Sarah may not fit into the same set that he necessarily did. It just depends. You never know.
Josh, let's just close up with this. Golf equipment. Is it in a good place? Do you feel good about the market right now and the product line? Not only ours, I hope you feel good about ours.
Right.
But what families have in front of them, the suite of offers across the board, not just U.S. Kids Golf. And I promise you, we feel very good about the U.S. Kids Golf product line in 2026. I'm just saying, is golf in a good place right now? We've talked everything about tariffs and equipment shortages and warehouse, and I see certain adult OEMs that are doing quite well, and I see others that are struggling. You feel good about the marketplace for kids and their golf clubs?
Yeah, being honest, John, the marketplace for kids and junior golf clubs has never been better. Selfishly, I'm the lead engineer or lead design engineer alongside Kim Wiley here at U.S. Kids Golf, so I feel that our product is the best.
You better feel that way, yeah.
I feel that we do things completely different than any of our competitors, but there are tons and tons of options out there for kids these days. There's all kinds of junior kid golf companies making golf clubs for kids. And again, I'm not here to trash them or say that they're bad. I believe that we're better. But those options, regardless, are still better than the old option back in the old days where you would take, again, your granddad's clubs or your dad's clubs and cut them down. So yes, I think there's almost a good, better, best. Cutting down adult clubs would be the worst. Some of our competitors, I think, are doing a pretty good job. And then, again, selfishly, I believe we're doing the best.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing, the most important thing out of all of that, when I tell folks, is what I said earlier. Anybody, any organization, and it's not just equipment related. It can be tournaments, it could be coaching, whatever. And there are more players in the field than ever. It doesn't upset us.
No, not at all.
Get more kids playing. I promise you, no other organization benefits more from more kids playing than U.S. Kids Golf, period. But that wasn't the point of, what I was trying to make of we want more families out there. And the best way, I think, to start is to get them in the right equipment.
Yes, fully agree with that, 100%. You nailed it on the head.
Put it this way. If you give them the right equipment, you give them a really good chance of enjoying the game. And if you give them the wrong equipment, there's virtually no chance of them enjoying the game. And what's going to make them want to come back?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, the greatest part about coming to work here, I worked for another golf company before I came to work here at U.S. Kids Golf. It was very corporate driven. I was very numbers driven. We're not about any of that here, which was great to come and work for a company like this. We're all about growing the game and making golf accessible to as many kids as possible. And any company that's coming in and trying to grow the game for kids, we're open arms to and welcome you to come.
I guess that's why they call this the Mission Podcast.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Josh, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
We got episode 1 in the books. Everybody, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.